Hello everybody, and welcome back to Mockup Monday. Today we are continuing our editing of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker Ballet. We're doing Waltz of the Flowers, so it's a good time. Sorry we're a couple minutes late today. Feeling a little under the weather, have a little bit of a fever. Think I have the flu, so fantastic. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be doing a little bit of editing today. This might be a little shorter than I anticipated just because I am feeling kind of crappy today. But nonetheless, we'll do as much editing today as we can. I also realize we haven't input the harp part yet, which is like the feature part of this movement. So we'll be doing that a little bit as well today. We are continuing to have issues with Facebook. Facebook keeps flagging it as a copyrighted recording that I'm using, even though it's just a mock-up recording. I've disputed every single time that they've flagged it and they've taken it off. But what ends up happening is as we're streaming, it either is completely removed from Facebook or they mute the video, and muting a video about music kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, right? So anyway, that's kind of where we're at right now. So with that being said, this will probably be the final mock-up series that I'll stream to Facebook. I'll still do it on YouTube, but this will be the last one I do on Facebook because I'm just tired of dealing with that every time. That being said, I think we're in pretty good shape so far with this mock-up, and let's kind of jump right into it. So, last week we finished inputting the string parts and we started to edit a little bit of the low strings. So here's kind of what we did last week. Anyway, you get the idea. So if you remember, the issue that we are going to run into with all of these string parts, and we're going to start with the viola today. The issue that we're going to run into with all of the string parts is timing. So this this library, let me pull it up so you can see what I'm talking about. This library that we have, Cinematic Studio Strings, is really great in the recordings that they have, and they also have a lot of mixing options, which is cool. But one of the issues that you run into, depending on your style of like how you actually input all the stuff, whether you're doing it after the fact or whether you're performing it in live, part of the issue is that they have all of the attacks of the note fully recorded. And it's great because it adds a sense of realism to it, but the issue then is there's extra time now. There's like baked in latency on all of the samples. So we have to adjust the timing to all of these notes. And if you input things like you do it with step input, you can just put a negative track delay on the track, which I showed you how to do last week and we'll do again this week. You can just put a negative track delay on it and it'll adjust all of your samples correctly, and you don't have to worry about it. But since we performed all the stuff in, it would be better for us to actually go in and like manually make the adjustments and do all that kind of stuff. Also, just literally talking, I realize like my brain is like not all there today. So I apologize if this is a crappy stream, but we're gonna try to power through it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I am gonna put a negative track delay on all these anyway. We're going to stick with negative 24 once we get up into the higher string instruments. So we're going to negative 24. And if I remember correctly, those are in milliseconds. And you can delay it in either direction. And essentially what this does is it's a look ahead feature. So if you are putting a reverse delay on it, you want them to come earlier. So what's going to happen is that track is going to start looking ahead a little bit in the time, and it's going to start processing that audio, in this case 24 milliseconds early, so that way when it processes it, it lines up with where you want it to be. That's kind of how this negative track delay works. So I'm going to go ahead and group some of these together a little bit so it's a little bit easier to work with. There we go. All right, let's start here. So you can kind of hear those are a little bit early. And the nice thing is these are all the same rhythmic value, and they're all pretty close, and it's a nice long rhythmic value as a quarter note. So I'm just going to hit quantize those, and I do have iterative quantize on a little bit, so it is only quantizing 50%. So rather than hitting Q and it just like hard pulling it to the rhythmic grid, it's pulling it like in proportions. So if I undo that, you can see what I'm talking about. So here's where that note is now. There you can see it's like halfway between the actual rhythmic grid and where it was. So that cursor now is the rhythmic grid. Right here's the start of the note on my cursor. If I hit Q, it pulls it in 50%. That's a really nice feature, and it allows you to keep a little bit of like the human element to your performance without it being too far off. All right, not too bad. Relatively easy. The difficult one to do is the legato, though, for sure. So, hard to tell with it playing in context, so I'm going to solo this and then put the click track on so I can listen to it. So I do want to look at the music a little bit with this. That one's a little bit late. It seems like most of these are probably going to be a little bit late, so I'm just going to pull this up. Interestingly enough, those aren't too bad. It does hang over a little, though, doesn't it? So that's one thing you want to watch, and that's one thing I usually tend to edit a lot more when I'm on the audio side of things. You want to watch the releases of the notes. It hangs off quite a bit. I don't know if that's like a reverb tail. Also, one thing you'll notice, if there are no notes playing, the entrance of the note is going to be pretty accurate with this library. If there is a note playing and you add another note, or you move to another note, right? It's not a single note attack. It is a legato transition. And the legato transitions in Cinematic Studio Strings are much longer. So with the negative track delay, if I put that pretty close to the rhythmic grid, it's going to sound in time. But the legatos, you'll notice, are way, way earlier than the rhythmic grid. That's because the legato transitions take a lot longer, because it has a little bit of the end of the note, it has the transition, and then the start of the note. So it's usually like 3 or 4 times longer than an actual attack of a note. See, like all those are super late. Still late. One other thing to point out. If you see the legato type here, there are multiple legato transitions that you can choose from. And there's even more if you go into the expressive. I think there's 3 different ones. There's like a portamento, a legato, all kinds of different stuff there in the expressive version. I just use the regular low latency one because it takes a lot less effort to actually go in and edit the stuff. Excuse me. So I like to use this one, but you'll see that there are 2 different legato transition speeds, right? So how the computer determines that is, this is, let's look at these ones because there's a little bit more variety here. This velocity is 75, right, which is higher. Video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers, what? Looks like we're dropping some frames a little bit. All right, we'll see if that's better. Viewers will experience buffering. All right, sorry. Sorry if you're getting a little buffering. My bad. Anyway, so the higher velocity notes are going to be higher up. Sorry. There we go. The higher velocities are going to be the quicker, faster legato transition, and the lower velocities, like this one here, or these ones here, those are going to be the slower one. And it works the same way when you do the expressive one. There's multiple levels that you can choose from, and the higher the velocity, the harder you hit the key, the quicker that legato transition actually is. So that's how you kind of adjust those. But like I said, I just use the regular one because it's a lot easier to work with. All those are a little bit late. Those ones are a little early. All right, so one thing that I want to do here, this is the first ending, dee da dee da da ba da 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 da. I'm looking at this part right here. I want that first eighth note to be a little bit shorter. So I don't want these to overlap. I want this to be a little bit shorter there. But then I need to shorten this a little bit because now that attack is earlier. I also want to drop the velocity a little bit so that start isn't quite as abrupt. So a little bit late on some of these. Definitely late on that one. Actually getting early on some of these, which is cool. Man, I don't know why it's why there's so much tail on that. Way too long. Kind of like that better. Let's shorten the other ones too. There. These are definitely too late. Late. Interesting. So that is why we're having problems with that note. Fascinating. What else do we have here? Let's show all the lanes. Interesting. So you'll notice that part of the issue is the note is ending before the legato transition actually has time to finish like its transition, so it's like chopping the note. So two ways you can kind of fix that. Two ways to fix that is move the legato transition earlier, increase the velocity to shorten the legato transition, and lengthen the note a little bit. The other issue that we're running into is how this library programs its volume. Modulation directly controls a volume knob. It's not like it controls the length of the note, and if that note ends and you change the modulation, that note still continues. That's not how it works. It actually controls the volume, including the tail of that note. So when it drops all of a sudden right here, you're getting a little bit of that change that's very sudden. That's why it sounds super choppy. It's a little bit better. I'm assuming once it's in context of everything, you're not going to be able to hear it that well. It's not too bad. It's a little bit early, unfortunately. It's not terrible. One more time. Yeah. A little slow there. And it's the same issue right there, you notice. Cool. Now I do need to grab the short articulations because we overlap a little bit right here. Yeah, that's not too bad. So I'm looking at this line right here. This one hangs over just a little bit. I think if we add a little bit of expression to it, it's going to help us out a little bit. And it doesn't need to be anything super drastic, just tailing off the end of this note a little bit. Yeah, that's not too bad. But I need to make sure that I reset the expression, because if I don't, the next time I have a legato patch, I'm going to get all goofed up. All right, now we have a similar issue here that we had at the beginning of the piece. These are all quarter note attacks, so we are going to quantize those a little bit. I think we might be able to hang on to that now a little bit longer. All right, now let's see what that sounds like in context now. Goofy right here. Weirdly, it's like a little bit early right there. Still a little bit early. I don't know. Let me look at something real quick. Is it because the tempo picks up right there? Yes, it is. So the reason that sounds early, even though it's still lined up with the tempo grid, is because the tempo map jumps up a little bit right there. So it sounds like it's rushing. It's because it is. Yeah, not too bad. A little bit to adjust in the cello part, actually. It's just hanging over a little bit too much for my taste on some of these. And that's just something I wasn't thinking about whenever I adjusted the cello parts. So now that I have more context, it's an easy adjustment to make, and that should tighten things up a little bit more. Something's goofy here. You hear that? It like dips down in volume. Is it this? a little bit of dip in volume. And if there's no CC data here correlating to it, then I would assume then that that's something actually baked into the samples. That's like a recording issue or a programming issue actually in the instrument itself. So I don't think I can go under the hood in these. No, I can't. Next month, I'm going to be trying to do a contact like scripting series. We'll take a look under the hood and you can kind of see a little bit closer how all this stuff works if you're unfamiliar with all that. But essentially, like every single note, every single transition, every single volume, every single articulation, the transitions from one note to another, they're all recorded and programmed separately with rare exception. So this transition from, what note's that, from F sharp to this C sharp, that transition might just have something goofy in the recording, and that's not something you're going to fix adjusting the MIDI here. If it's something that's actually baked into the sample, that's nothing that you can fix. You could try sampling it on different notes and then going back and like transposing it and doing all that stuff. Like you can fix it, but the question is it worth your time to fix it? And the answer is no, it's not. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a dip in volume. I think it's a programming error. Same thing there. Okay, so it was the exact same thing right here. F sharp to C sharp. And it was the same thing here, F sharp to C sharp. There's no MIDI data, like there's no expression that's dropping. There's no modulation that's dropping right there. So I would assume pretty confidently now that it's happened 2 times on the same note transitions, like between the same pitches, that is a programming error in the actual instrument itself. So whenever it is transitioning from that F sharp to that C sharp, yeah, you can even hear it there. It's not every time. So maybe they have some Brown Robin stuff going on. But that transition isn't crossfading correctly. So there are a couple different types of crossfades that you can do, but equal gain and equal volume, I don't remember. Been a while. But anyway, there's a couple different types of crossfades that you can do, and if you don't select the right one, what happens is during the transition, your volume drops down a little bit while it's transitioning from one note to the other, and I think that's what's happening there. So it's not something I'm going to be able to fix. If it stands out a little bit too much whenever I bounce this all to audio, I don't think it is, but if it bounces, if it sticks out too much when I bounce it to audio, I could always re-record it on some nearby pitches and then just like Frankenstein that part back together, or transpose that stuff and all that. I don't think I'm going to have to do that, but that is an option if it's like, if that's an issue you're running into where it's super critical that you get that part exposed to sound good, you can always fix it that way. But in this context, I don't think I'm going to need to do that. So a little bit of timing issues there. Lovely. Cool. All right, not too bad. Let's listen here. I think I know a couple adjustments I'm going to need to make already. Let's solo this. Again, in context with these like repeated notes, it's a little bit hard to hear the actual articulation. So I'm going to solo it, turn on the click, and listen to it that way. There's a little bit of goofiness on the end of the note. I'm going to do that just by eliminating the modulation. It's not too bad. This note's a little bit late. So as I mentioned before, the beginning of a note, if there's nothing happening before it, is usually pretty like in time. It's pretty good. But one thing that I actually kind of dislike about Cinematic Studio Strings is how it handles repeated notes. It's really hard to get it to do like a repeated détaché, which is something simple to do on an actual instrument, like on an actual violin. It's really easy to play that, but it's not super easy to record and program that for a computer to do the same thing. Because essentially what's going to end up happening is as you're playing, you're either going to get gaps in it or you're going to get like jumps in volume, which sounds really unnatural. So it sticks out because it's easy to do on an instrument, but it's really hard to program. So it's one thing that they don't do well. So it could be a little bit earlier, I think. It's not too bad. Pull these up a little bit. These are all just a hair late. I'm going to go through and do this because I know this is a change I'm going to make anyway. And I'm going to shorten these all up. I know I'm going to move these all ahead. On those, a little early on that. Super late on all of those. Pull those up. That's probably need to come up. Those are actually a little early. You'll notice I'm being a lot pickier about the timing in this mock-up than I was in the Prokofiev mock-up that we did last month, 2 months. And that's because this is a waltz and like it's a dance tune. So all of the parts are designed to be very rhythmic and like fit in an ingrained pulse. There's no blurring of tempo whatsoever. There's no push or pull. It is the whole time boom, chick, chick, boom, chick, chick. And that's, again, because it is a dance. And in the actual ballet itself, it's a waltz. Very common, easy for your listener to identify and like move along with. So if the tempo is not like pristine, it's going to sound weird and it's going to sound unnatural. So it needs to be pretty accurate. I don't think you guys can hear the click. I think I have the audio routed after the click in the control room. So if it sounds in time to you, it might to me just be off with the click. Like it might be a little bit late, but because within like its own rhythmic integrity, it's correct. The whole part is just late. It might sound fine to you. And that's just because I don't think you can hear the click track. I suppose I could bounce the click to audio. What do you think? Move this up a little bit. Which which means I need to turn this down and delay the start of the note. It's a little goofy. Too bad. I think these two can come up a little bit. I don't want it to be late. Like, I want it to lean into that next measure. It's not too bad. It's all late, though. That's better. That's pretty good. Suppose I could take that off. We're not really looking at it. Weird. This transition just sounds a little goofy. Alright, and that needs to come down a little bit. Well, these need to be a little quicker. And we'll make that a little short. Let's get rid of that. Let's do some expression. We will, again, reset it at the beginning in case I forgot to do that last time. Drop it down a little bit. It might not even need to be that much, but we'll do it anyway. There we go. It's not bad. All right. So we have some eighth note runs that we're going to need to adjust. Overall, they're going to be late, so I'm going to do that. The top notes are going to be a little early now, so I'm going to do that. Okay. Let's see what that sounds like. See how close I am? Pretty close. Except it can't be super long at the end. I don't want this like long soupy tail at the end. Yeah, that's not bad. So there's a little bit of goofiness here. That's better. I'm gonna do something similar. Grab all these long ending notes, and I'm gonna shorten these because it's something I know I'm gonna need to do with all of them. Too long there. Does this feel a little late to you? I think these two are late. Or is it that this one is early? I think that's what it is. I think that one's too early. Not too bad. A hair late on those. Too long there. Oop, not that short. Too short. Too short. See, this is sometimes why I prefer to do it with audio. It's way easier to see like how long the note actually is and adjust it that way. But this way works fine. Not too bad. A little late on that one. Too long and a little bit late. A little late there. And we'll go ahead and shorten that up. Still a little bit late, huh? Just too long. It's probably going to be late. Interesting. All right, so a little bit of goofiness with the modulation, which we can fix. All right, let me find where this part is in the music. 1 and 2 and 3 and I think this might be rushing. There we go, that sounds a little better. It's a hair late on like all these notes, just a little bit late. Again, might not be something you guys are able to hear because I have the click track routed before. No, I'm sorry, I have the click track placed in the control room after I have the audio sending out to the stream, so you might not be able to hear the click. You'll also notice I gave up on trying the grace notes in here. You can't see the score, can you? There you go. I gave up on the grace notes in that. I gave up on that because cinematic studio strings just, it ain't gonna happen. That's not a thing that it can really do. Again, I pointed this out earlier, but it bears repeating. Repeated notes. Cinematic studio strings does not do this particularly well. You usually end up with either a gap in the two notes, or you end up with like weird volume things, which this is a perfect example of. Right? Like that's not a normal articulation that you're going to hear in an orchestra. So you can try to adjust it as best you can by closing this gap. Number one, actually, let's do it this way. Closing this gap between the two notes and lowering the velocity of the second note. And even then, it's still a little too rambunctious there. Let's try making some adjustments. I'm curious, if I let this note fade out, no. That's essentially what I'm trying to work around. Like this note's just too much bite on it. It's also a little too early now, I think. What do you guys think? It's a little better. I can live with that, I think. All these are a little too early. But there's some repeated notes in here, which is a little bit of pain in the butt. Ooh, super late here. All of those are late. So, super easy. Also, I apologize for like coughing and hacking up, you know, gross stuff, the whole thing. I'm feeling a little under the weather today. This is like my favorite part of the entire piece right here. This little line between the violas and the cellos. A little bit of goofiness right here. I'm not sure if it's... Let's keep the modulation. It might have been the aftertouch. That sounds a little bit better. Let's check it in context. Getting a little bit late. A little bit late there. A little too much right there. Whenever it's a legato line and they're all late by about the same amount, it's helpful to edit like in groups instead of one note at a time. Right? It makes it a lot quicker than trying to adjust every individual note. It goes a little bit quicker. Cool. Not too bad. Let's do that in context here. See what this sounds like. I don't really like the tails of these notes, like the ends. Just seems unnatural. Not too shabby. I think I can live with that. These are going to be pretty simple. Just quantize them. All right, and nothing in the viola part for a while, is that right? After the pizzicato? I don't think so. I think we're missing a part. All right, we are missing a viola part. Look at that. Let's go ahead and save this. I'll record it in real quick. It doesn't seem terribly difficult. Yeah, that's what it is. I'll go ahead and take the tempo down. I don't know, what do you think, 112? And we'll go right here. do that one more time because I'm a bad piano player. Okay, not bad. Now let's go ahead and edit that because it's definitely going to need some editing here. Yeah, so all the legato stuff that I played will need to come forward, but everything else should be reasonably okay, I would think. Yeah, not too bad. Let's do that in solo with the click track. I'm going to get rid of this aftertouch. I don't remember if Cinematic Studio Strings uses aftertouch. I don't remember. If anybody knows, you can feel free to leave a comment. A little too early there. Let's get rid of some of that modulation. Woof. Let's just get rid of the modulation here for a second. These are a little too rambunctious, and that modulation can be a little bit louder. These are late. Still late, holy cow. And let's shorten this so we don't have that like obnoxious tail at the end of the note. Good. We'll quantize these ones and pull these ones up. I think that's what we'll need to do. A little too much, maybe? Because the tempo's changing. That wasn't too bad. So that's one thing to talk about with regard to the sample libraries. The transitions are audio recordings, all right? And if you've done stuff with both audio and MIDI, you know that when you change tempo, the audio doesn't change. The audio is baked in, it's set, it's fixed. So let's just throw out easy round numbers. If I have a legato transition that takes 50 milliseconds to complete, and my tempo is set at 100 beats per minute, okay? 100 beats per minute, 50 milliseconds, that's going to be like a specific proportion of that tempo for it to complete, so the note is going to have to be offset by that much. If I then slow down the tempo, that note is now going to be early because the tempo is lower, but the amount of time it's taking is exactly the same. So now that transition is faster with regard to the tempo, even though it's like in absolute time, it's the exact same amount of time taken up. So something to be aware of as you're going through, thinking about those transitions. They are audio, they are not MIDI. And you can kind of hear the transitions in there a little bit. Like that one's a little early. And what you really want is you want that, like the second note, when it lands on that second note, that's what you want to hit. So this first one's still off. It's a little late. Good. Good. All right. Now, in context. Lovely. Okay. We'll go here. We'll quantize these again, just because they're quarter notes. I know that's going to be easy. Okay, so we're off here. So we're going to need to adjust again. These are a little bit late. Too early now. These could be a little earlier, I think. A little late. A little late across the board, I think. One of these in particular is late. Let's try that. Yeah, that's the B. The B's late. All right, so we're back into this little normal melody. So I'm going to grab all of those, and I'm going to shorten them a little bit because I remember that's something I had to do to all of them. And then all of these were late. Now these are a hair early. Still a little early, I think. These first ones can all be quantized a little bit, I think. These can be pulled up a fair bit. Late. 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 And again, being super picky about the timing here because this is a waltz and it's very particular, like the timings need to be very particular for it to sound good. These are a little bit late. Here. quantize that a little bit closer. Let's drop this articulation down a little bit, and let's do that. It's not too bad. That's late. One's close, this one's late. This one was definitely late. These are all late. Just assuming that last note's late. All of those are late. This one's a little late, and this one's a little early. That one's now a little early. Adjusted too much. Okay, not terrible. So all those are a hair late. We can let that C sharp hang out a little longer. Let's move those up a hair. Just starting to rush a little bit towards the end. I don't want it to rush. I want it to be pretty well locked in time. Cool. All right, now we're getting into the coda-ish. Get rid of that. All right, so that was one thing earlier when we were having that weird issue with the transition, like the little crossfade thing. This is what I was looking for. CC data that affects the volume of the patch during the note transition. Because I have a tendency, whenever I'm like performing string parts in, I flick my thumb down the whole time and adjust the modulation that way. So sometimes I get a little overzealous in that, and so it results in these like weird little transitions. Okay, these might be better as shorts. So these are going to be better performed as short articulations. So let's do this. To grab those, copy them up there just to get rid of them. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Okay. And now I'm going to grab this, copy it into the short articulation. Let's change the name so it's a little bit easier to work with. Okay. Now, in the legato, I do not want these notes, actually. Yeah. I do not want pretty much any of these. I guess I didn't need to do that. Okay. Now in the long, or in the shorts, I don't want those. Okay. Now let's hear what this sounds like. Yeah, that's not too bad. These are eighth notes of those, so we are going to want to quantize those just a hair. And now the timings of these are just a hair off a little bit. Okay, we can adjust the modulation probably down a little bit, make these a little bit shorter, a little bit bouncier. Let's lengthen that one. I want to quantize these a little. Maybe I don't want that as long. I think it sounds weird long, right? Maybe a little bit more than that. That's late too. Hear that? Yeah, let's lengthen it. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. All right, I'm going to finish editing viola, then I'm going to take a short break. And come back to the violins. So let's knock out these. These are late. Actually, a little early. Cool. Let's find these ones. Let's make this one nice and long. And this guy should be here. There, maybe. Maybe a little bit longer on the last note. Good. All right, now let's do this guy. All this is definitely going to be one with the click. All right, let's get the eighth notes figured out first. They're all going to be late. I already know. Still late. Yeah, there we go. That sounds better. Not too bad. I think all of these are legato transitions. They're repeated notes, so I should just be able to theoretically just drag it and move it up. That's not too bad. This one, late. Yeah, a little bit. Wow, still a little bit late. That was better. Now this is just late. So again, this goes into the fact that the tempo is faster now, but the legato transitions have not shortened. The legato transitions are still this big, but it's everything else is moving faster. So I need to move them earlier in order for the end of the note transition to line up with the beat. And this was the part I was worried about. So the issue right here is the end of this first B overlaps with that second B. So by the time that note finishes its transition, it's like interfering with the start of the next note. Does that kind of like make sense? And all these are still kind of late. So we're gonna do this, keep adjusting. It's getting better. Shorten these like little releases, kind of like we did earlier. This part seems a little rushed. Okay. We're getting there. Not much left. All right, a little bit of goofiness down here in the modulation, and fix that relatively easily by going like that. I am going to get rid of the aftertouch. Again, I don't remember if Cinematic Strings uses aftertouch or not, but it seems like whenever I have a lot of that data going on, something's getting goofed up. This doesn't sound too bad. I think let's quantize those a little bit closer. Timing issues. It especially gets worse whenever it's like a virtuosic part. All right. Let's grab that and copy it into the legato and the marcato. Not bad, not bad. All right, so let's give a quick listen, make sure this is all good, and then I'm going to take a short break, maybe get some soup, and come back. Second ending. That transition's not too bad. That's a lot cleaner than it was. Not too bad. I can live with that. A little bit of volume that needs adjusted there. Not too bad. I live with that. We're going to take a short break. So I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab some cough drops and maybe some tea and something like that. We'll come back. We'll do the violin parts. I'm thinking I might be able to knock out both violin parts at the same time. Not 100% sure. But that's going to be what we're doing today. I don't think I'm going to continue after doing the strings. I do still have to edit the woodwinds and brass, which shouldn't take quite as long because those parts are a little simpler and easier to adjust because those are modeled instruments instead of sampled instruments. So that'll be a little bit easier. Need to edit the woodwinds and brass. Need to edit the percussion. Again, percussion shouldn't take very long. But I also have to input the harp part. So the harp part is going to be the wonky thing at the beginning that I've been putting off doing because it's going to be the most difficult aspect of this mock-up. But I will be back briefly. I'm going to take a couple-minute break here, and then we will be right back. So, see you. I just took my temperature. I have a temp of like 100.3. So I'm going to end here for today. I might jump on at some point, like Wednesday, maybe. I might jump on some point Wednesday to finish out the strings and jump into the woodwinds and brass. So this might be a Mockup Wednesday deal. I don't know. But I'm going to run to the pharmacy real quick and pick up some drugs, and I am going to take the night off. So thanks for sticking around. Sorry I had to cut it short today. But, you know, there's a treat. You get 2-3 hours of your life back today. So I'll see you guys next time. We'll finish this out. I think it's coming along pretty well. But I need to, I like can't think straight right now. So I'm going to go take a break and hop on the couch and drink some tea, eat some soup, all that stuff. So I will see you later.